All right, so here are the, out of I don't know how many, a couple dozen people, something like that. In terms of, asking about what do you like, projects or exams, it was a tie. So half of you prefer projects, half of you prefer exams. A lot of you say both are fine. So I'll show you the actual, what we're going to do here in a little bit. Let's see here. Okay, so, and then on the exams, it was not much of a question here that most people like objective questions on exams. So you all were pretty definitive there, all right? So on the exams, we'll probably just have objective stuff, okay? And this was a really useful one because I had planned to give you the Whopper assignment where you work on it all year, all semester, with maybe little chunks, but very few people wanted that. Most of you wanted just a few projects that would have several weeks to work on. So that's what we'll do, okay? So I've got, I think, 4 assignments, averaging about
3 weeks.
Yeah, something like that. I think the total amount of points is 270 points. The actual value of the assignments is a little different, but they all total to be 270 out of the 640 points. Okay. Some other patterns. Okay, that's about it. So, if you will, here, this is the exams. You can ignore that for a second. All right, well, I'm going to have to log in here to Canvas in order to get this to work, but
If we're not seeing your class on Canvas,
that's intentional. Yeah, you should not see my course on Canvas, but you will very soon. All right. I will also have office hours beginning tomorrow. Okay. And office hours are in the afternoon, so you're welcome to come by. Today happens to be the last day of a very important period in the year. You know what it is?
of the year,
Yeah.
January,
Today's what, January 15th?
first 2 weeks of the year?
Yes.
Archery season for deer is today.
It's the last day of deer season. Which means we got to get out of here on time today. Now, after today, the deer are safe for 8.5 months, at least for those who are legal hunters. And
One of those, I'm talking to a game warden.
So, very good. Are you going today?
I'm tagged out.
You're done. Good for you.
It's a good day to tag out.
I am behind with the syllabus a little bit, and I'll tell you, a good excuse that I have is this morning I logged onto this and I had to update my OKey username and update my OKey password, which always wastes 2 hours of the day. So anyway, that's there. We got that done. I do want to tell you a little bit about the scenario here. Now, right now you're looking at the document camera, but the course, if you're new to the course, you didn't hear me say this the other day, everything is going to be recorded. All of our class sessions are going to be recorded and then placed on Canvas as a link, probably to YouTube, so that you'll be able to review these. And I'll try to do my best to put some kind of highlight or index or something on there so that if there's something you need to go back and review, like, for example, if we were to talk today about the tragedy of the Commons, then you'd know that on the 15th of January we talked about the tragedy of the Commons. All right. are also a lot of online resources for the course, all right? And I'll talk a little bit about those as well today. So that's me. This is you all. Oh, what a good looking bunch. All right, so anyway, let's go to the website here, Canvas website that you can't see yet, but I can, and I'm going to show it to you. So. Oh yeah, we got to do all this. Working today. What's the deal?
I watched the one that cried. Hotel room. Which one are you talking about? Outbreak? It's about the Ebola
You
outbreak.
all have trouble with this Wi-Fi thing called
I cried.
EduRoam?
Yeah.
It's kind of slow, isn't it?
I thought you were talking about hotel room. No.
Did you update your password for EduRoam since you updated your password in Canvas or whatever?
I probably skipped something somewhere.
Yeah, I only have to watch 4 of these. It's only an 8-week class, so I'm gonna get off for those done in the next 2 weeks. What? Cineculture. It's an I course that I had to take an I course, and it's the only one that fit my schedule.
This extra step helps Google make sure it's really you. I don't want any more steps, Mr. Google. All right, okay, I think we're here now.
Right.
Crazy, isn't it?
It's not like your face is designed to protect your phone.
It says invalid credentials and you just hit it a few more times and it works. This is crazy. Okay, now, hey, now we're talking. All right, so you all are, think of yourself as not as Geography 3153 or Conservation of Natural Resources, but as 27878, okay? That's your magic number, 27878. Whenever you send me an email, if you could put 27878 in, you can't see that, I know. It says 27878. If you could put that number, you might want to write that down, put it on your phone or something, for Conservation of Natural Resources, Bays, that's my name, by the way. 27878. 27878 is the number that will help everything get to me. So if you could put that in the subject line of any email you send me, that'll make sure that gets to me and I won't lose it. So 27878. And that's what I'm going to show you here. And we'll try to, it's not published yet, so I'm not letting y'all see this yet, but I'm going to go through some things today, and you will be able to have an idea of what to expect. So let's look at what's called the syllabus. And even though it says, it says fall 19, I'll fix that. My office hours will usually be late in the afternoon. My office is Murray Hall 356, just across the street and down the road a little bit. Third floor, south wing. And let's see here. This course. This course has, we divide things up into modules. The first module is what you'll take your first exam over. So the first module is kind of the history and the philosophy of the conservation movement in the United States up until the early 20th century, mid 20th century. We kind of stop about 1960. So that's what we're going to look at first. It's going to be very much social science, maybe even a little bit of humanities, but you've got the social science covered for the gen ed designation here. So that's the first part. And then the second part and the third part, basically the second third and the third of the course will examine systematically different types of resources. So we will start off with looking at land and soil resources, and we'll examine, as we look at those resources, we'll have a tendency to ask questions like, well, what are the problems? How can these resources be wasted? How can these resources be used in a less efficient way or a more efficient way? And then we'll spend some time talking about the conservation methods, the approaches, or some of the techniques, very general, not technical for this course, but the general techniques of conserving that particular type of resource. So for soil conservation, we will talk a little bit about things like, no-till. We'll look at a little bit more in depth regarding the role of state and federal governments in regulating resources. But at the same time, I very much am one who tries to examine how the private sector will also relate to resource management. And so most of the time in your textbooks, you'll have a lot of stuff about policy, and it's all mostly federal policy. But when it comes down to it, most of the land in this country, especially in this part of the country, is private land, all right? And so there are some important federal agencies that work with private landowners to develop conservation and encourage conservation methods. So we'll also talk about things like national parks and national forests and so on, and look at how those public lands are administered, and we'll talk about, you'll learn about the different federal agencies, even departments, that have responsibilities for public lands as well as private lands, okay? What departments can you think of that are very much plugged into conservation or the goal of conservation, the ideal of conservation? What are some U.S. departments? Well, you have to think about what's a department. That's usually referred to as sort of the cabinet, the cabinet level organization. So those are the secretaries of this and that, right? So we have a Secretary of State. We have a Secretary of what? Anything else?
Defense.
Secretary of Defense, okay. Used to be the Secretary of War. What else?
Interior.
Secretary of the Interior. Really important one for this course. So we'll learn a lot about the Department of the Interior and the various agencies within the Department of the Interior that are charged with various parts of the conservation effort, the government's conservation effort. How about some other departments that are very much associated with conservation? Yes, there is there's not a Department of Wildlife, but there's an agency that has responsibility for fisheries and wildlife on federal lands, okay? But there are a lot of other ones, actually. We've got the Department of the Interior. That's a really important big one.
Agriculture.
Department of Agriculture is probably the other huge one, okay? Department of Agriculture, Department of the Interior. And then there are some other ones that you may not expect. The Department of Commerce, believe it or not. You know, can you guess what sort of area of conservation comes under the Department of Commerce? Strangely.
Transportation? I don't know.
Yeah, somewhat. Most agencies are somewhat associated with, dealing with transportation. But the Department of Commerce,
Agriculture, food.
Food is, you're getting there. Fisheries, marine fisheries, all right, which is basically under the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, all right? So maybe you need that. So that's, when we look at marine fisheries, we'll be talking a lot about NOAA and Department of Commerce. But there are others, and, we don't have to hit on every one of them. The Department of the Interior has probably the largest variety of federal agencies that are involved with conservation efforts. And that's not just confined to things like the National Park Service, or the National Park Service is under the Department of the Interior. It also includes things like the Bureau of Indian Affairs, okay? The Bureau of Indian Affairs, which if you're in Oklahoma, if you grew up in Oklahoma, you probably realize there are, there's a lot of land in the state that is referred to as federal Indian trust lands or restricted individual Indian lands, allotted lands, whatever. And those fall under the purview of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, okay? There are other ones like the Bureau of Reclamation, all right, involving irrigation and that sort of thing. So water resources. So anyway, it's very, very interesting. National Forest Service, the United States Forest Service, and that's a very large entity within the Department of Agriculture. And then also within the Department of Agriculture, we have the what used to be called the Soil Conservation Service, and now it's called the what?
NRCS.
NRCS, the Natural Resources Conservation Service. So NRCS is a really, really important entity. I'll talk a lot about them. They are the federal government agency that works primarily with private landowners, especially farmers and ranchers, but private landowners to encourage them to enact or to take on conservation approaches, okay? To not waste their own private resources. And that's a difficult thing to do, because private landowners can basically do whatever the heck they want to in many cases. So you have to provide education and get people on board to do conservation work. All right, so if I can maybe talk a little bit more about, that's kind of the general course. We're going to take 3 exams. The first 2 exams are worth 80 points. A lot of you wrote this down. If you're new to the class, there are 640 points. And the first 2 exams are worth 80 points apiece. The final exam, which is comprehensive, is worth 160 points. Okay. The first 2 exams have 40 questions, 2 points apiece. The final exam has 80 questions, 2 points apiece, all right? So 160 plus 80 plus 80 is 320. That's 50% of your 640 points, okay? Then Then we've got another 320 points. Excuse me. We've got another 270 points. Yeah, 270 points in the form of out of class, what I'll call exercises or homework exercises. But these are also, these 4 exercises, probably 4, no more than 4. These 4 exercises will include a written component, all right? They will have a written component, and that one of those exercises will have a written component of, I think, a little close to 5 pages or something like that. It won't be any big surprise for you. Each one of those assignments will include an activity that you will take on, and this may include collecting data online. This may include, and actually I got a really cool assignment ready for you, and the data are going to be in tomorrow, all right? So anyway, this, but we'll get that too. So you've got this assignment where you'll go find the data, you'll import the data, you'll play around with it probably in a spreadsheet, you'll map the data, all right? You're going to create thematic maps, and I'll show you how to do all that kind of stuff. So you'll create a thematic map, and then from that and from the data, you will produce a sort of a report. And I'll have a set of questions for you to try to address based on the data. So this will allow you for those of you who are not geography majors, maybe you haven't had any GIS stuff yet in NREM or geography. This will introduce you to some really basic mapping routines, and I think you'll enjoy it. So we'll ask questions, and then you'll provide your answers in a written format and submit that online to Canvas, right, to the assignment. And then those are generally worth, what is it, about 40 points, something like that. Maybe a little bit more, yeah. I can't remember. Anyway, so that's your assignments. Those will be roughly every 3 to 4 weeks, and you'll have one coming up very soon. In addition to that, I have practice quizzes, and this is something that you hopefully will be happy to know about. In addition to outside of class writing assignments and exams and lectures and stuff, you're going to have some practice quizzes, okay? And so each of those, we've got 10 lessons for the whole course divided up into 3 parts. And those 10 lessons each have a 5-point practice quiz over all of the learning material. So once we cover a lesson, once we get through one of the lessons in one of the modules, then you can I'll open up the quiz for you, and you can take a practice quiz that will randomly pull multiple choice and true false questions from a question bank over that lesson. For example, the first lesson, land and soil conservation, may have a total question bank of, let's see, actually it's called resources, scarcity, and depletion. All right, so maybe you can see that. Gosh, this is really not the greatest, is it? Bigger than that. All right, so maybe you can see this. All right, so the first lesson is called resources, scarcity, and depletion. And we're going to start talking about that today. And that is, these are sort of the very early philosophical questions. What is conservation? What's that all about? Then once we get through this material, have a set of, or I have one quiz for you, and you can go online to do this quiz. And there are actually 32 questions within the quiz bank for that first lesson. 32 questions. But when you take a quiz, when you take the quiz, it'll only give you 5. And you have to answer those 5 in 3 minutes. Okay? So it's a random draw. You can take the quiz as many times as you wish. Each time randomly getting served 5 of those 32 questions for that quiz. You can answer the questions. If you answer all of them correctly, then you will have a 5 out of 5 points recorded for quiz number 1, the quiz for lesson number 1. And we got 10 lessons, so that's 50 points, all right? Now, those were easy points, but of course, the real point of the quiz being there is to allow you to practice for the exam. The exams contain a selection of those 32. So the first exam covers the first 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, the first 4 lessons, okay? So out of those 4 lessons, you can total 32 plus 35 plus 38 plus 25 questions, and then I will draw 40 from that bank, from those 4 banks, okay? 40 questions from all of those, whatever that total is, okay? And the selection of questions is not random on the exam, okay? The selection of questions is going to be based on what I find to be most important. So if you get a question about, what county did H.H. Bennett grow up in Georgia, that's not very significant, all right? So, but you'll get questions sort of like that. So 32 plus 35 plus 38 plus 25, what is that real quickly?
30. 130.
130, okay, so you'll get just 40 of those 130, okay? And the other 2 exams are the same way, okay? The other 2 exams are the same way. The second exam covers lesson 5, 6, and 7, and then, let's see where we get to. And then the final exam covers all of these, but not equally, because essentially the size of the question bank determines the number of questions on the final exam, okay? So over here on the far right, you can see the number of questions that are on the final exam, and they are proportional to the number of questions in the total quiz bank for that lesson. Okay. Everybody confused now? Not too bad? Okay. All right, so essentially you've got some quizzes, you have some quizzes that are really, really long. Now, or at least some quiz banks that are bigger than others.
Are the lesson quiz or the lesson questions, whatever, are they going to be open all the time?
Yes. Yes. I don't know if y'all, the Canvas thing is kind of new to a lot of faculty, and they tell us to do certain things, and when you do that, I found what I found is I've eliminated all due dates, all opening and closing dates, all that kind of stuff, because it just confuses people, and it confuses me. So I'll have due dates that I'll tell you about, or actually the due dates will be there, but it won't close. When it comes to the quizzes, yeah, they'll be open until you guys don't have access to the course anymore, right? Which is after finals week. So you can be using these quizzes all the way up to the final exam. By the way, you can take the final exam, which is 80 points. It won't take you that long, but the final exam will be offered on Monday of finals week, as well as Friday of finals week, and then whatever the day is that we're supposed to take it, which is probably a Tuesday or a Thursday or something. Or no, it's probably a Monday or Wednesday. You will have access to, you will be able to take the exam when you're supposed to take it, but if you'd rather take it early, I'll have a way for you to take it early. If you want to wait until Friday evening, maximize your study time, you're welcome to do that as well, okay? I'll provide a way for you to do that. It's easy to do it. Okay, so let's back up a bit. I want to maybe point out some things here. Okay, so I've talked about the quizzes. There are going to be 10 of those, 5 points apiece, easy 50 points. Then we have the homework exercises, 270 points and 4 out-of-class activities, one of which will be coming up fairly soon. In addition to those homework assignments, and those are things that we may spend some time talking about in class, working on in class, and it's also very much a possibility that we can do online group work, okay? Synchronized, real-time online sort of meetings. And these are not going to be required. These will only be for people who can actually participate. Say, for example, I'm going to say, okay, let's plan on next Monday or next Tuesday at 7 p.m. All right. Next Tuesday at 7 p.m. we're going to meet on YouTube Live. Okay. And I'm going to do a YouTube Live. What do we call it? Live stream. Thank you. And we'll do the YouTube live stream, and you can participate by rolling into YouTube and chatting, or you can simply use the Canvas chat, and you can chat with me there. I prefer to use YouTube. And have you all ever done that? How many of you have done live streaming? How many of you participated in live streaming before? Live streaming. So you all are new to this? I thought I was the one that was behind the times, okay? I mean, my son, okay, is live streaming like Instagram and stuff, not Facebook. Facebook's for old people, all right? So I don't have Instagram, I don't have Facebook, I got YouTube. And I've got a YouTube channel, by the way. If you want to explore it, you're very much welcome to join it and all that. You'll get updates. But
It's about.
I'm easy to find, okay? I'm easy to find. But I'll send you all an email, and I've got a link on all my email footer, you know? You know how people put these 17-line email footers with, you know, class of 2023, which I want to laugh at. Okay, we'll see if you get through this semester. But yeah, I do have a link, and that link goes to a Canvas site that has everything you ever wanted to know about me. You know, I make Rate My Professors look stupid because I put not just my links to Rate My Professors and Koofers and all that other junk. I actually upload all of my course evaluations. You can go look at my course evaluations. If you want to laugh, go read my course evaluations, all right? They're all there for the world to see, okay? I have no secrets. And neither do you all because you've been on the internet, all right? You just think you'd have secrets. But anyway, the YouTube channel, well, I was saying, what we could do is once I get this assignment to you, and you've had, you know, a few days to kind of look at it and maybe get started on it, then we could have this YouTube live session outside of class, because that's, you know, you will actually have a computer somewhere. You know, not everybody brings a computer to class, so it's kind of ridiculous to try to do it in class. But for those people who want to, you will be able to to go to the live stream and send me questions, which I will answer or try to answer online. Okay, so if you can just watch and listen to the questions, or you can participate and send me a question, and I'll try to answer it for you. Or if you miss it because at 7 o'clock on Tuesdays you're working, then it'll be recorded, and then I'll link it through Canvas, and you can watch it later. Okay, so anyway. So the live streaming is something a little bit new, and I'm not real good at it yet, but it's actually kind of useful, I've found. So we can do the same sorts of things. So far, I've only used those for really exam reviews and other classes, so it's helpful. So we'll do those, and I try to make these projects interesting and based on I know what your majors are, and they're also going to be interesting, at least for me. So they might be a little biased toward my interests. So exams, 320 points, no questions there, I hope, so far. And then, scheduling exams. You'll have let me show you how you do that. You know how I said you don't have to be, well, we don't have to cover that at the moment. The flexibility with the exams is enabled by, I will have you all sign up for exam times. And so I'll give you some choices of times when you can take the exam. You're not going to take it in here, but you'll take it at a lab. And you'll be able to determine, when you want to take that. So maybe it works out for you better if you take it early in the morning. Maybe you want to take it at 11:30 on, Friday. But you could also wait until later to take it as well.
And you said we don't have to take it at the place that strip searches you, right?
I'm sorry?
The place that strip searches you, we don't take it there, right?
No,
Okay.
no. I don't want you to go to the UAT. I try to keep you away from the UAT. Right? Oh, yeah, well,
You're literally getting imprisoned.
There's another thing about it. If you all are in Tulsa, anybody live in Tulsa? Or commute from Tulsa? Or if you're traveling, we can arrange for you to take the exam online if you wind up getting activated, right? So I've had plenty of students in Afghanistan, right? And my nephew's in Afghanistan at the moment, so he's not taking my class. So anyway, we can do remote testing. So if you got to travel, a lot of you NREM folks will be going on. Anybody in soils? Are you going on the soil contest thing? No. Not? Okay. So a lot of competitions come up in the spring semester, and I'll work with you there. It's not a problem at all. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm kind of delaying things here. On campus, exams. Bonus points. My favorite topic. We will have in here the opportunity for bonus points. And you might say, well, I don't want to bother with that. I have to grade your written work for this class. It's a 3,000 level S general education designation class. The university requires me to grade your written work for writing quality. Okay. Now, as you'll find out soon, I have a real hang-up. I am an inherent editor, okay? And I find errors everywhere in writing. And so I will be more than happy to help you with your writing as you do it, all right? And if you want to come see me before you hand something in, just give me plenty of time. Don't come to me an hour before it's due and say, will you look this over, okay? But if you want to come to me a few days a week before the thing is due, I'll be more than happy to help you with proofing and stuff like that. Or if you want to talk about it before you start writing, we'll do that. Now, the reason I say that is because a lot of students will find that the grading of papers is harder than they expected, all right? And I'll give you an example. On the first, on one of the writing assignments, let's just take an example of a writing assignment that would be worth 20 points, okay? On that writing assignment, I will take off 2 points for every misspelling, even if it's the same thing over and over, okay? Grammatical error, comma splices drive me insane. Not that I'm not already insane, but comma splices drive me nuts. So be careful with the comma splices, punctuation, all that stuff. 2 points apiece. So how many errors do you get? 5, right? Because you only get 5 because I have a limit. It's like the tag limit. He's tagged out. Okay. We have a limit on errors. So on a paper that's worth 20 points, you turn it in and you get 5 things wrong. Maybe you get 8 things wrong. I'm only going to count 10 points off to 50%. Okay. So then you at least get, if you're halfway literate, you ever heard of? No, never mind.
So it's 50% of grammar.
So I have a limit on how many errors I'll actually count against you, okay? But I would be more than happy to go over those with you ahead of time so you don't make those errors, okay? So you're able to improve your writing and all that stuff, okay? But I'm saddled with the requirement to do that to you all, even though I don't want to, all right? I have to do that. And if you make a really low grade on a paper, don't totally freak out because bonus, all right? Bonus points. I am Mr. Bonus Points. I love doing bonus points. And the reason is because it's a pretty good sized class. I'll have, anybody use discussions in online classes or anything like that? How many of you have an online class? Okay. You have to do discussions? Do you like that? Yeah, nobody likes those discussions. But we've got a new discussion tool in here. And of course, nobody likes to actually say anything in class because that's scary, right? Maybe for some of you it's not, but I used to be scared to death as a freshman, and just totally bashful shy. And I learned how to break out of that. And so I hope if you're like me, like I was, that you learn how to break out of that because life will run over if you don't talk, all right? You don't ask questions and ask for help. Okay? But there's this really cool tool, and maybe some of you, I'm sure some of you have heard of it. It's called Flipgrid. Have y'all ever heard of that? Flipgrid? Okay, you'll like it. Basically, it's, Canvas has this thing where you can do chatting, you can do like a video discussion. It's the same thing, except on Flipgrid, it's a little slicker, and you'll have fun with it, okay? And it's not going to be recorded for posterity on Canvas. So everything you do on Canvas stays on Canvas. That's why I have a YouTube channel. So, anyway, so we've got out-of-class written assignment. Okay, plagiarism. Everybody know what plagiarism is? Okay. Anybody not know what plagiarism is? Raise your hand now so I can explain it to you. Okay, that's good. We don't want plagiarism. Plagiarism bad. Okay. Cheating on exams. Don't cheat. We were talking about the UAT, and the UAT is out there primarily. It's out there for people who have letters from the Office of Student Disability Services. Now, if you have what's called an accommodation of any type, I should get a letter from them, and you might make sure that I've gotten my letter from them within, by the end of the week. If you know that you have a letter, send me an email and ask me, because I'll make sure I've got one. But any accommodation on testing or in class, taking notes, anything like that, I'm happy to comply with. I'll do my very best. Fortunately, when it comes to exams, you can use the UAT, you get to use that without a charge, but I can accommodate you probably easier than the UAT can, and better. And it won't waste your time, strip searching and that sort of thing. So, and if you have an issue that requires you to maybe take an exam early or late, just talk to me and we'll work something out. Most of the notes and everything will get posted. The video of the lecture will get posted. I do everything I possibly can to cover bases on accessibility, okay? Because accessibility is important. But anyway, if you do have an identified issue that requires some accommodation, just let me know about that, and I'll do my very best to work with you. Grade determination. Oh yeah, we haven't talked about grades, have we? Huh. Okay. All right, so we got 640 points in the, by the way, 640 points. What's pretty about that? Section. Yeah, there's 640 acres in a section, in a mile section. And so most of us think of maybe land in quarter sections, right? So you have a quarter is 160. So we got 160.25% final exam, and then the two other midterm exams equal another quarter, so that's 50%. And then, so it's a little easier to think of ratio-wise. Now, when you look at this, those of you who are math, who are slick with math, you'll see that this is what percentage of 640? What would you guess? It's an A. 90%, okay? To get a B, or to get an A, you have to have 575.5 points. So you have to have 576 points. To get a B, you have to have 511.5 points. Nothing lower than that. Not 511 points. To get a C, 415.5 points. What's the difference between these two numbers and this number? Okay. See, that's a little bit different. 415 to 511. So this is not 70%, this is 65%, okay? 65%, and then this, 50%. So if you totally screw up in the class, you go away today and then you forget about having this class, by the way, it's time to go. Gosh, how did that happen? It's the Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing. Sorry. All right. So you make 50% in my class, you get a D. Okay? I don't want you to get a D. I don't want you to get a C. All right? I want you to get an A. So I will have the syllabus for you online very soon. You will have some activities and some reading to do very, very soon. But not today. All right? So enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you on Friday. Those of you who haven't gotten a flu shot, get a flu shot. I got one the other day.
Covers your Friday. See you later.
I gotta go to the financial aid office.
You what?
I gotta go to the financial aid office. So, but I'm just gonna sit there.
What they say, look, that's right.
To see how the quizzes operate. Quizzes our time, but. Just like taking a long quiz. All right, dude. Okay. Like that Carhartt vest.
Thank you. I just got it actually.
Yeah, that's sharp.
Appreciate it.